Hello everybody. I have emerged from the crawl space to drop the longest video that I have ever made, and it's all about the green M&M. In this video, I will talk about the conditions that created her, the lore and origins of both her and M&M's as a whole, analyze the commercials that feature her with a modern eye, and discuss the curse that has latched onto this character. But first I gotta ask you something. Have you ever seen a picture of a naked woman and then you said, "Awooga"? One pack of cigarettes, please. All the way back in 1871, in somewhat of a guerrilla marketing move, Pearl Tobacco, who wanted to drum up some more business, just said, hey, just spitballing here, I don't know. What if we put a naked woman on the front cover of our product? So they did that, and it did not put them out of business. Another thing that happened, people talked about this product. People saw this ad and they either said, what the fuck? Or, unga bunga, me like naked woman, I should buy me some Pearl Tobacco. So what is happening here is that companies are using women's bodies in beauty to sell products. Women are no strangers to exploitation. After all, patriarchy, capitalism, colonialism, they have always required the exploitation of women, but this is now starting to enter the consumer advertisement sphere. This is a marketing strategy that will only progress and become more abominable as time goes on, but it takes a while, a couple decades to be exact. Because while this form of advertisement was effective and used here and there, it was still an understandably wild thing for a company to do. And that remained true when a little company was down on their luck and was trying to turn things around. In 1911, Woodbury's facial soap decided to just say, hey, I don't know, just spitballing here. What if we said that people will want to have sex with you if you use our product? And also look at this picture of a couple about to have sex. Here's the thing, they didn't go out of business, and also it worked really well. And thus begins the myth that sex sells products. And it turns out, women buy things sometimes as well. Bring out the studs. I guess we're doing sexualizing men now too. And with the next couple of decades came the decay of the expectation of modesty from brands. Airlines, sexy magazines gets butts and seats. Clothing companies, you'll get laid if you wear our clothes. High five. Car advertisements. This ad is an absolute banger, by the way.
Must be overcompensating for a shortcoming. Now, he obviously has feelings of inadequacy.
If it's true about men who drive flashy cars,
This guy really has something to hide.
then if a guy chooses a car because it's durable and dependable, wouldn't the opposite be true?
If you don't buy our car, you got a shrimp dick, buster.
I wonder what he's got under the hood.
I don't know if you've seen this pattern yet, but none of the things being advertised have anything to do with sex. Think of a product or industry. With a little creativity, you could make it sexual. And let's draw some parallels. We went from this to shrimp dick and anti-woke cheerleaders eating burgers. It is very clear that we are officially off the rails at this point in the timeline, but it's also clear that there's an evolution happening. It's no longer just a picture of a naked woman. Now there's tactics involved. There's narratives, there's subliminal cues to do this without being overtly sexual, and of course, there's hypersexualization. You know exactly what I'm talking about. These are the ads that society once considered pornography to be. You could compare these to the Pearl Tobacco picture, but strangely enough, even partially clothed, these hypersexualized ads can be much more crass than just a picture of a naked woman, yet you could run these ads during the Super Bowl. And some people wonder why everyone's horny all the time. Companies started doing whatever they could in order to get people talking about them, even if that entailed sexy outrage spectacle, which sometimes led to jumping the shark, doing something so crazy that repulses everyone. In other words, these ads were risky, but in the grand scheme of things, this was a new concept, so the risks weren't yet extremely obvious, and there was enough efficacy for companies to try this style of advertising. And I don't think you need to be too well versed in feminist theory to understand that women being used as sexual objects in media at rates extremely disproportionate to men in media is not great if the ultimate goal is to reach an equitable society. That's the reason why companies stopped doing this, right? Because of equality? No! What are you, high? It's because companies stop making profits. Don't get me wrong, you need to have sexy ads to sell lingerie and lube, but using this to sell something that has nothing to do with sex, such as, I don't know, candy, is extremely volatile and not a sound business practice. Crazy. I know. Sex doesn't actually sell. And there's pretty much a consensus on this, or at least a consensus that doing all this is more trouble than it's worth. We have mountains of evidence that suggests that sexual imagery very much does grab attention, but it does not leave a long-lasting impression when paired with a product or brand. And it makes sense that constantly being barraged with sexual stimuli is numbing, which is probably not conducive to recollection. Studies also suggest that you may attract one demographic with sexual stimuli in advertisements, but you run the risk of losing another demographic. And trying to use sex to sell random products long-term is bad news. Companies who did this here and there might have seen some success a couple times, but companies like Carl's Jr., who did this for like every commercial, started to suffer consequences. Their ads, even on primetime television slots, just started to see less impact. People eventually stop caring. The impact goes away when you're beating a dead horse with it. There is likely a better way to grab the viewer's attention and even also appeal to other demographics at the same time. And I don't want it to seem like I'm sitting here clutching my pearls. I don't want to completely sterilize and sexless media. And I understand that this topic is very nuanced and that sex is just a part of life in society. If we're trying to have a conversation about morality and whether or not this is something that should be looked down upon, I ultimately think that this is a situation where it's all about the severity, dosage, and context case by case. There are tasteful ways to do it and very untasteful ways. You could do it in a way that will likely age well. You could do it in a way that will likely not age well. You could do it in a way that is objectifying, and you could do it in a way that is empowering. And I'm gonna be completely honest, this might be a hot take, but I'm glad some of these ads exist because they're deliciously weird. The world is just a slightly more whimsical place with this dumbass 3D Doritos commercial taking up space in it. Society has been trending in a progressive direction compared to where we were 20 years ago, and outrageous, sexy product ads are starting to become relics. And that's a good thing for multiple reasons, but the chuds will probably argue that companies that have long practiced this deciding to shift away is alienating the existing audience that prefer that kind of messaging, which I think is a really dumb and nonsensical sentiment. Like, there are so many other ways to appeal to specific demographics. Like the people who actually complain about this as a culture war topic, people who whine online demanding sexier ads, asking to see more cheeks thrown in their Doritos commercials, they are weirdos. They are perverts. They need to drink a glass of water and touch grass. Companies don't give a shit about you. They don't care about what you personally prefer. If a company is alienating a demographic, it's because they ran the numbers and doing that will make them money. Unless, of course, people decide to be insane about it. But either way, the 90s and 2000s was a time of experimentation. Companies certainly were creative. I am scarred, especially from watching sexually charged abominations manifest on screen, trying to sell me things as a child. Perhaps the most popular abomination stems from a company jumping the shark in a way where we can stand here in the present and say, that's fucking terrifying. There is no reason why this should exist. This is a testament to how dark and depraved humanity has become, and the shepherds that have guided us into this darkness are consumerism, humanity's hubris, and the desire to make money at all cost. I am, of course, talking about the green Eminem. Look at this piece of shit. Evil bastard. I think I'm gonna be sick. I don't know if you can tell this by now, but this is not an endorsement of Eminem's, and I'm going to be very critical of them. Mars is a piece of shit evil company who has profited from child and slave labor and has a hard time keeping up with promises made to end this horrible practice of unethical cocoa sourcing. Fuck Mars and fuck Eminem's. This all starts with a little boy who had some daddy issues. Forrest Mars Sr. was born in 1904 and was the heir to a confectionery business in Tacoma, Washington, USA. But like I said, daddy issues. Forrest and his father disagreed on many things, so he decided to pack up his bags and try candy making in Europe, leaving his dad's stupid shop and building an empire, and that's exactly what he did. As far as candy products go, he put a lot of bangers on shelves. Ooh, I'm talking Milky Way. Ooh, I'm talking Mars bars. Ooh, I'm talking Maltesers. Ooh, I'm talking Uncle Ben's rice. Pedigree dog food. He was really just selling shit, to be honest. Anyways, during a business trip, he spent some time in a war-torn Spain, which was still engaged in the Spanish Civil War, but it was 1939, close to the end of the military conflict. There's a lot of claims and disputes over the origins of the idea for M&Ms, but this is probably what happened. Forrest noticed that soldiers were eating a candy product called Smarties. No, I am not talking about the chalky hard candy. I'm talking about these Smarties. Maybe they look a little familiar to you. Smarties were good little rations for soldiers, especially in warm climates, because they are easy to transport and the soldiers can get their sugar fix without worrying about their chocolate melting. So everything kind of points to Forrest kind of being like, aha, time to commit plagiarism. At the end of the day, Smarties, which have been around for much longer than M&Ms, are bits of chocolate covered in a candy coating. And M&Ms are bits of chocolate covered in a candy coating with an M on them. They actually started without the white M. Here's a quote. M&Ms had become so popular by 1950 that an ingenious solution for consumers to distinguish the real M&Ms from inferior imitators was to stamp each candy with the now famous M. You want to know where I got that quote? I got it from the M&M's website. Yeah, don't you just hate it when some knucklehead tries to imitate your product? Anyways, Smarties weren't being sold in the US, so Forrest Mars Sr. had the product idea, but he needed a partner. So he teamed up with the Hershey's chocolate Nepo baby Bruce Murray. So this partnership worked like this. Mars gets access to a steady supply of resources during World War II when resource procurement was a little tricky, and Murray would get a 20% stake and even a name on the product. That's what the M stands for, Mars and Murray. Partners forever. Another big plus to this partnership is that Hershey's already established themselves as a partner for US military food rations. So in the beginning, M&Ms were exclusively sold to the US military, and again, this was during World War II, so this was a really big contract. When the war was over, M&Ms were sold domestically, and they already had built-in hype from the soldiers returning home who enjoyed the candy and wanted to share it with their families. Here's a funny development. Remember when I said partners forever? It turns out Bruce Murray and Forrest Mars Sr. hated each other. A collection of disagreements on professional conduct and business handling led Mars to buy Murray out of his 20% stake, and now they are competitors. So long story short, there's this complicated history surrounding the creation of M&Ms. Familial conflict, de facto plagiarism, messy business relations. You can't trust these candy makers. They lure you in with these sweets and then they rot your teeth. And soon they will rot your soul, but that doesn't happen through eating sweets, that happens through watching the telly. Within the next couple decades, M&M started building an advertising identity. The OG M&M commercials were pretty standard. The original mascots were 2D wholesome cartoon M&Ms, which made sense. There was also the M&M Man, but we don't talk about the M&M Man. But there was a funny little rumor going around that each color had a different meaning and or real-world effect when you ate them.
Your batting average is totally awesome. What's your secret? M&M. I hit singles when I ate the brown ones, doubles with yellows, orange, triples, and with the green ones, I take the ball downtown.
Yeah, see, right there. The green one gives you a performance boost. Press pause on that. We'll come back to this rumor. In the meantime, candy companies were also starting to heavily advertise to adults because adults buy candy. So candy commercials started changing to appeal to wider demographics. It is much more economically sound of a practice to make an all-encompassing commercial that is entertaining for all age groups. Cartoons just don't do it anymore. And there's a special someone who had the idea to change the cartoon M&Ms, who were homogeneous and childlike, to 3D M&Ms who had individual personalities and interacted within a real person world, and that special someone is Susan Cradle. She is an advertising superstar. Top of the game, she has created many incredibly successful advertising identities. One that you might recognize is Mr. Mayhem from Allstate, but by far the most recognizable success was, and I'm sure you saw this coming, the 3D M&Ms, baby. This was the 3D M&Ms' first appearance. You might say, hey, Those aren't the M&Ms that I know and love, and you're right, they were subject to some changes. Cradle got the 3D part right, but back in the 90s, people went nuts over 3D visual effect technology. It was like the coolest thing in the world. But Cradle also had plans to give each one of the colors their own personalities. Then in 1995, they became the red and yellow that we know and love today. And it was a double whammy, feeding two birds with one scone, because not only were these little guys 3D, but they also had huge attitude. It was the 90s, in your face, edgy, radical attitude was everything. As the commercials kept moving forward, for better or for worse, the attitude was cranked up. While most of these ads were family friendly, some of them have aged very poorly, because this was the time that M&M's took a bite of the forbidden fruit. Using sex to sell something that has nothing to do with sex. And quite a lot of these commercials, either red or yellow, would see some smoking hot chick and be like, boing, get a load of this hottie, bazinga, booba, booba. To be fair, it's the 90s. Lots of companies were doing stuff exactly like this. But also double entendres, the stuff that was designed to fly over kids' heads. And obviously there's nothing wrong with a little flirtatious joke or a cheeky double entendre that kids don't get but their parents get, but the marketing team went a little too far with all this. I think that they contracted a sickness from playing around with this advertising method. They got a taste for blood and they wanted more. More! You see, they already added the blue M&M in a campaign to add a new color to M&M's bag, so naturally the next move was to reveal the green M&M. The green M&M was supposed to be a man, a highly anxious and nervous man. So orange. The green M&M was supposed to have the same attitude and characteristics as the orange one. I feel like our timeline has been compromised by a time traveler. Someone accidentally kicked a stone a while back. Anyway, the M&M's advertising team said, hold up there, Speedy, new plans. Remember that ad about the baseball and the food coloring giving you a performance boost? Well, that rumor evolved a little bit. Some people theorize that it could mean a little help getting a home run, if you know what I mean. Fucking. That's what I mean. It'll make you horny. So the advertising team just saw that rumor sitting there on the shelf. It's time, baby. Cradle, Cradle. Don't do it. No, Cradle. I'm begging you. You have no idea what you're about to unleash into the world. Don't do it to them. Don't do it. Unfortunately, Cradle did it to them. That's right, get this bozo out of here. He's been retconned. It's time to talk about your dream girl's dream girl. It's not Brat Summer anymore, but it's certainly Green M&M Fall. I think I got my pop stars mixed up. I'm sure that you all remember this, how could you forget? But a while back, Tucker Carlson had a public meltdown over the M&M's company making the green M&M less sexy, probably to distract you from some horrible thing happening in the world at the time. But who cares about all that? We're extremely worried about them dogs, am I right? But M&M's is a modest brand now. They don't want to objectify women because they have some goddamn respect, and don't you forget that. So we have gotten to the portion of this video where I will be playing the green M&M's commercials, and the purpose of me doing this isn't to punch a company while they're down. Not that I have a problem with that, but to compare this to all of the examples of using sex appeal to sell products, supporting the claim that I am about to make. The green M&M commercials are by far not the most repulsive, hypersexual, dangerous, or morally reprehensible commercials using sex appeal in the history of advertising, but they are absolutely the most unintentionally weird commercials that have all aged like milk. Not only that, but with these commercials, Miss Green took on a life of her own, and even before the Tucker Carlson incident, she has been immortalized through memes as a cursed character. I honestly cannot think of another company that has this problem. Not a single advertising mascot besides Green that has this many people talking about their goon game. And after watching these commercials, you will be cursed as well. It will turn you into her messenger. When you're sitting alone with no real friends at some dumb party that you forced yourself to go to in order to be social, you can recite all of the information that you learned from this video to all of those stupid fucking NPCs and tell them how myself, woke Karen, wants to fuck this CGI piece of candy. Okay, now it's time for a little content warning. These ads are very unsettling and weird. And to be honest, all 90s and 2000s CGI commercials were unsettling to a certain degree. Like, I straight up had nightmares about eating honeycombs and turning into this fucking abomination, or biting into a gusher and permanently having my head become a fruit. There was one campaign specifically in 2007 where people got M&Mified, and it's kind of horrifying.
Lady Liberty is not the only one who is more fun as an M&M. Check me out, Kevin.
You know, Mark, you are really taking this thing seriously, huh?
Kevin, look at me. Do I look serious to you?
But you enter an extra layer of weird when you hypersexualize one of these primitive 3D models. And I'll go ahead and bet that lots of you watching this are familiar with the green M&M commercials. I'm not trying to be like, whoa guys, I just blew this case wide open. Did you know that the green M&M used to be sexy? I'm sure that most people are very familiar with the green M&M's work. But some people, a good amount of people, a lot of people, aren't. They're young, they haven't seen battle. Perhaps you there, watching, you aren't as familiar as you think you are. Who knows? I know that I learned a few things that I wish I could forget while doing research on this project. I know that the haters will make fun of me for making this gigantic video completely dedicated to the green M&M and call me a pervert. And you're right, I am a pervert. I will not break the bit or break my character, even though I've already broken it a bunch. But for the purpose of this video, I want to do unspeakable things to Miss Green. But on a real note, these commercials are in fact the skeletons in Eminem's closet, especially with their recent adoption of phony corporate feminism. And again, I'm not clutching my pearls. I grew up with these commercials and I'm fine. I think. I'm just trying to have fun with this video. If you've made it this far and you think that I'm being 100% serious, that's on you. I'm clearly not trying to make any large groundbreaking claims. I'm just trying to do a fun little research project. And even though I'm being pretty harsh, I'm not like trying to get anybody in trouble. The purpose of this video isn't to be like, hey guys, it's me, woke cancel man. Let's go cancel the M&Ms for making weird, sexy commercials 20 years ago. Even if I did have the power to cancel M&Ms, I wouldn't do it over this. Like I said previously, they have used child and slave labor in their supply chain. The green M&M commercials are not even in the top 50 of the unethical things that the Mars company has done. And I deploy a kill it with fire attitude while talking about these commercials, but that's more for the sake of telling jokes and highlighting how weird these ads are. And they are weird. They cover a lot of ground. Casual sexual harassment to hypersexual content in a context that I personally believe was deliberately aimed at and tailored towards children. They did it, it has been done, and they're not doing it anymore, so that's what matters, I guess. And I know that these fart smellers will comment this. Ooh, I know y'all will comment this. A lot of people try to pull an Uno reverse card. They will look you in your eyes and tell you with a straight face, the green M&M doesn't have female anatomy. She doesn't have boobies or a vagina. Methinks maybe you're the one who's weird for thinking that these commercials are weird. No, that's really dumb. And a character not having female anatomy is absolutely not an out for poor and misogynistic writing. And the funny thing is, if her personality was just bratty diva and she did regular things and was properly utilized as a character who nobody was creepy and insane to, that would be a fine character. Her entire character, it's fine. They're the ones who ruined it. In other words, you're absolutely right. She doesn't have boobs or a coochie. Great job noticing. The problem is all of the antics that they pulled with her character. We're going off history here. The commercials have been made, the damage has been done. These commercials are actually insane, and you are not going to convince me that I am crazy for thinking that. Also, if M&Ms cared about empowering women, they would address this behavior in some way. So it's completely reasonable to look at the empty virtue signaling that M&Ms has been doing recently, talking about empowering women, and to compare that to these commercials and to feel like you just got fucking flashbanged and to feel the wildest sensation of whiplash. There were a couple times when I dropped my jaw while doing research. These are not commercials. These are records of how twisted the human imagination can stretch while being accepted by society. I would also like to take this time to mention that I have seen nearly every single English-speaking M&M commercial and beyond in order to properly educate myself on this topic. My search history is identical to Tucker Carlson's. That is precious time that I will never be getting back, but I will be gaining material to manifest nightmares in my sleep. I will also likely not be making any money from this video because I feel it necessary to play Eminem's commercials in their entirety, and Mars will probably not like me profiting from that. And also the language that I have used even thus far is probably not suitable for advertisers. I'm hoping that's not the case, but this is also an excellent time to plug my Patreon. If you're feeling generous and want to support me for this incredibly brave and thought-provoking piece that I put together, it's linked on my homepage. So without further ado, let's get into these fever dreams falsely characterized as candy commercials. Okay, here is my method. So I have rounded up every single commercial that Green makes an appearance on, and then I broke those down into commercials where she has speaking roles or commercials that somewhat center her. I then weed out any of the commercials that aren't very strange and sexual. Few to weed out, don't worry. But for the ones that are, some of them aren't really worth dissecting because she's just kind of there being sexualized like you do with poorly written women characters. So I'll just probably play said commercials in the background, and that's how we get this folder, the holy grail of Miss Green content. No, I will not be sharing it with you. Get a life, you disgusting pervert. We first see Green appear on screen in a commercial in 1997. Take a look.
She is a sexy spokes candy. Green! So, sweetie, you have been busy.
Well, my new movie's opening. And no, Dennis, I don't remove my shell.
Of course not.
And you know about my book.
The bittersweet memoir by Melt for No One.
It's changing lives.
Hey, babe, call me when you want to do commercials.
I don't do commercials.
Oh, that'll kill your career.
What a beautiful introduction. The creepiness is off the chart, yet strangely reined in for an M&M's commercial. Important to note, the regular human man on the show is none other than Dennis Miller. He appears in many M&M's commercials. He was once an SNL cast member and successful comedian, eventually hosting an HBO show called Dennis Miller Live. The reason why I'm taking this departure talking about Dennis is to give you a snapshot of the culture. Things were obviously less progressive in the 90s and 2000s, but politics were a lot less polarized and there was more of a civil attitude around all of this. And in general, the average person had fewer opinions on politics. And there was this archetype of person who the average Joe strived to be. The snarky smartass who is too cool for politics but still had valid and sensible opinions. The type of person to unironically say, "Get a load of this guy." This archetype was very appealing and it was very represented in TV shows and movies and stuff. And somebody who fit in this perfectly was Dennis Miller. But the thing is, a lot of people's opinions in the 90s and 2000s were really bad in retrospect, including Dennis Miller's. I think that choosing Dennis Miller as the human face for M&M's did a great job of establishing this brand's attitude within the history books. And yes, I will explain. During the 2000s, there was this big backlash against political correctness, which of course is the same exact moral panic as wokeness, but less politicized by today's standards. One person who would not shut the fuck up about political correctness was our boy Dennis Miller. You might think that hiring a guy who sings in the chorus of weirdos whining about feminist college courses and people asking not to be called slurs to be a face of a product would be a bad marketing move for a company whose sole purpose is to sell as much candy as possible, but you would be wrong because M&M's was quite literally a culprit.
I am not a secretary. I'm an administrative assistant.
I'm not a babysitter. I'm a domestic caregiver.
I'm not a clown. I'm a child entertainer.
I am not a plain M&M. I am a milk chocolate M&M.
M&M's, now with a politically correct name.
I'm not a cheerleader. I'm an athletic supporter. What?
Kind of crazy commercial, to be honest. That's like the modern equivalent of Kit Kat bars making a commercial like, "Excuse me, SJW, did you just assume my gender? My pronouns are Kit Kat. Me. Dennis Miller is not my cup of tea, but a lot of comedians who I respect speak highly of him. But the sad thing about Dennis Miller is he didn't really get any character growth. He planted his feet in the 2000s and he is still there today. And his most recent material is just full of dated references and horrible conservative takes. I believe believe one of his recent specials was called Fake News, Real Jokes. Side note, if you ever have a class assignment to study an old man yelling at clouds, do I got a recommendation for you. He in fact has such bad opinions that he even got his own segment on Fox News called Miller Time that ended in 2017 when Bill O'Reilly got the boot. People don't really like him anymore. I wonder why. Anyways, I hope that painted a picture of what the world was like back then, the societal conditions, the zeitgeist, the pressure that formed the diamond that we know today as Miss Green. Let's move on. In our next commercial featuring Green, a bunch of people are fucking sexually harassing her as she's walking down the street. Check it out.
Baby, you are looking sweet. Holy cow.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, pretty sweet, hey, buddy?
Hey, you look good enough to eat, baby. How you doing? Hey, yo, Big Greedy. Where you going? No, hold on. I ain't finished. Hey, I ain't finished. Where you going?
Men.
The weirdest part about this commercial is the father when he leans in and says, pretty sweet, eh, buddy? My dude, chill the fuck out. You don't need to let your infant child know every time you want to fuck a piece of candy. And of course, there's a little cheeky joke at the end about women also sexually harassing her. Like I previously said, dominant American culture was kind of cool with these jokes back in the 2000s.
Hey, Prospector, how about you?
And so you two are absolutely identical? You know, I'm sure I could get you a part in Toy Story 3. I'm sorry, are we back? Oh, all right, girls. Lovely talking with you. Yes, anytime you'd like some tips on acting, I'd be glad to chat with you. All right, off you go then.
But looking back on it with our current culture, yeah, this is a really fucking wild commercial. Okay, this one's a doozy.
What was that? They're ready for a close-up? Stage 15? Roger, have her right there. Miss Green, move right.
I'm naked.
Yeah.
I gotta go buy a bag of M&Ms.
Yeah, fucking right. Bro's gotta find a closet. Stat! Okay, so to this day, M&M's commercials do this thing where they treat their candy coating like their clothes and they strip naked. The reason why this kind of joke can be family friendly is because, they don't take it to a sexual place, obviously. Usually it's done in a punch-up kind of way where, like, they lost a bet and they're being teased or they're happy that they're naked. Not like this commercial where someone is leaving to jerk off to the mental impression of someone's naked body. We love a candy that empowers women. Now, this is a wonderful time to let you all know that America isn't the only horn dog in the race. There are insane M&M's commercials from all over the globe, but this particular commercial has a twin in Taiwan that raises the stakes. Instead of one person finding the green M&M naked and then going to jerk off, it's a television crew broadcasting live to the entire world for some reason.
Eminem 巧克力不开巧克力本色，
限量薄荷脆心，性感上市哦。
I guess every situation could be made worse than it is. For example, billions of people could see a non-consensual broadcast of your naked body. This next commercial is where we see the repercussions of this candy company pretending to be God. This is my favorite of the bunch.
Oh, come on, Gail.
I just don't like it.
He's a boy. That's what boys do.
But he's my little boy. Makes me feel uncomfortable.
At his age, I'd be concerned if he wasn't interested.
I'm just not ready for this.
He's got a fucking goon cave. Yeah, fucking right, dude. This is aged so beautifully well. This commercial should be in the history books. The damage is done. You have failed as parents. Don't touch anything in that room. This next commercial is also very interesting to look at today.
Hey, babe.
You look great.
You know, I kind of like the dress, but I just don't know about these gloves and these boots. I mean, who wears gloves with boots? Don't you think they look funny? Paul?
I'm sorry, did you say something, babe? What?
Nice outfit. Shut up.
You see, The boyfriend is making the girlfriend wear green M&M branded clothing. She obliges, probably to make her man happy because his brain is rotting from edging to the green M&M every day. But it's not the same. It's not the real thing. The woman is angry because she knows she can never keep up with green. Almost as if to say, we know that society will punish us in the future, but right now we are safe. These are all part of a collection of commercials in which there is one more of that features our boy Dennis Miller. Here you go.
Question, Sugar.
Yes, Dennis?
Is it true what they say about the green ones?
That is an ugly rumor. It's a lie! How did this thing get started?
Okay, so you're not lime.
Lime?
Where do you get your gossip?
A little hot under the candy, aren't you, sister?
What is it about the green ones? An obvious homage to the whole reason why green is around, the filthy little rumor that the dye improves your sexual performance. And I have a question. How long is this going to be her only thing? The only reason why she is around, literally why she was created, is because of a sex joke, and the only joke that is ever made using her character is that everyone wants to have sex with her. Off to a great start with introducing the first woman M&M. To be fair, the green M&M is just one drop in an entire sea of overly sexualized, poorly written women characters. This writing is not special. This character is special, but only because of how cursed this ad campaign is as a whole. Speaking of which, there is one more ad campaign that is perhaps even more cursed that prominently features Miss Green. And this is an abrupt dive into the deep end. It is much more sexual than any of the commercials I showed you previously. Somehow, play the clip.
Triple chocolate M&M's premiums. Dark milk and white chocolate. A premium combination that's positively heavenly. M&M's premiums. Are we good?
Yeah, yeah.
And if your bank is running dry, there's two others just like it. This is what it means to be horny posting on Maine. This is insane. This aired in 2008, by the way. As a 13-year-old boy who is violently horny all of the time, I remember vividly forming an opinion on these commercials as they came out, and that opinion was, this is a weird fucking commercial. Why did they make this? M&M Premium and What Is It About the Green Ones were two campaigns that were centered around green. There's other weirdly sexual commercials featuring Miss Green, one of which is pretty damn racist, but this one is peak needlessly sexual weirdness. And I know you're gonna say it, just zip it. Zip it, don't even go there. Seriously, shut your damn mouth. These commercials were not some sort of big-brained meta-analysis on hypersexuality in media. You could run a goddamn yoga studio with all that stretching. You are giving them way too much credit. They literally were just like, hey, haha, let's make a sexy M&M and make her be sexy. Wouldn't that be funny? That's it. No more, no less. Go to your room. It's your bedtime. This is forever. It's on the internet. It's archived. There's no escaping this. There's no pretending that these don't exist. There's no trying to get us to forget. These are out there and they're objectively insane. But you all know we can always get a little freakier. I would like to take this moment to let you all know that commercials are not the only way you can advertise your product. You could feature Miss Green on Sports Illustrated Swimsuit Edition, baby. Bam! These are not fan-made. These are real photos that were approved by the M&M's team and Sports Illustrated.
A decade ago, if someone told me a swimsuit model could be 2 feet tall and made of chocolate, I would have laughed. But now, well, things are different.
Oh, right you are, Jessica, right you are. We need to award grants for scholars to study shit like this. Why is there a Sports Illustrated Swimsuit Edition featuring an anthropomorphic talking piece of candy? Voice acting legend Cree Summer, who is awesome. I am shaking my finger at anyone who is trying to somehow twist my words into throwing shade at her. Voices Miss Green, and she narrated a video talking about the behind-the-scenes action during this fictional photo shoot, and it is really, really, really really weird.
Think about the money, girl. Think about the money, baby.
Wise words from one of the best.
What else could you possibly do to promote M&Ms? They interviewed the green M&M on live television. Yeah, speaking of Cree Summer, she did a live interview promoting a limited edition all green M&Ms pack for Valentine's Day.
Well, green is the new color of love, and I'll tell you why. Just look at me, baby. That should be answer enough, okay?
This was actually done for multiple media outlets. Side note, Cree Summer is the very first VTuber. We have proof.
Well, Ms. Green, I have to confess that I'm rather captivated by your charms, and I want to get to know you better. I want to know if you're peanut or regular, and I thought that maybe after the show, you know, we might be able to meet at a restaurant for, you know, a glass of milk.
Oh, Peter, you tease. I'll call you later.
Yeah, sure, you're laughing now, Mr. Fox News business host, but watch out or else you'll end up like your colleague. Was this an inside job? Okay, so I have one more example for you, and it is the most shocking and sexual of all green M&M appearances to date. And of course, you can blame the internet. So like I previously said, other countries have different marketing teams to promote M&Ms. And these kinky bastards over in France wanted to do something with the internet and make an interactive website where you can download M&M's clips and images and watch fun little videos featuring your favorite M&M's characters. Welcome to M&M Street. Click on this guy, he'll give you clips to download. You can click on this photo studio and watch some clips of the blue M&M taking photos or something. I don't fucking know. You get the idea, it's an interactive website. But when you logged on to this back when you had unrestricted internet access, you might have asked yourself, hey, what's up with Sexy Sweet? What's going on with that building? Why is there a strip club in the middle of M&M Street? Well, I'm 12 years old, and there's no way that M&M's is going to scar me for life. They're a trusted brand. So you give it a click, and then there you go. It's not getting weirder than that. You can watch them all give you a striptease. In fact, doesn't make it any better. And you're not gonna convince me that the strip club concept wasn't inspired specifically by green. Who was this made for? It was made for children. It was made for children, and it doesn't really matter that there's no, like, actual nudity in this. It's still pretty damn sexual. And it was made for children. This is an interactive website, and these are cartoon characters who are inherently appealing to children. This is a time when children went to websites such as Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon to play flash games and watch fun little clips. Of course they would go to an M&M's website, and of course their parents would give them permission. You are going to have a very, very, very hard time convincing me that they did not make this with the intentions of having children view it. What the actual fuck is wrong with this marketing team? Could you imagine walking in on your 12-year-old watching their Neopet bust it down sexual style on a stripper pole? This is bonkers. I want to make love in this club, I played as this character in Eminem's Beach Party for the Nintendo Wii. Are you kidding me? I love those Eminem games even though they were objectively not good. And now they are ruined forever. What's next? You're gonna tell me that green was the subject of a boner joke at the Eminem's The Lost Formulas computer game?
Where are your hard hats?
I have an unusually hard shell.
I got this game from the Scholastic Book Fair. They put a boner joke in the high-energy action math game made for the ages of 5 to 10 that I asked my mom to buy me from the Scholastic Book Fair. Sorry guys, I'm gonna need a minute. Obviously, they needed to be stopped, and they did get stopped. The 2010s came, and commercials featuring Green started to become sparse. She really just turned into a background character. They realized that they flew too close to the sun and melted their chocolate. So they essentially replaced her with Miss Brown Eminem. What's her story? She's the girl boss Eminem, not the CEO, the CCO, Chief Chocolate Officer. I'm not joking, that's canon. Miss Brown almost feels like a response to Miss Green. Perhaps what Green should have been this whole fucking time. And she is much more acceptable and not utterly insane. Miss Brown passes the Bechdel test nearly every single time she's on screen. One might say that Miss Brown is sexy, but part of the reason why she's sexy is because she's really smart and independent, and she is not to be objectified, even though all of the M&Ms are technically objects. With that being said, a lot of her commercials were still weirdly sexual. And the aura of corporate feminism that came with Miss Brown, even at the time, felt a little cheap and forced. Like, it wasn't that long ago when y'all were sexualizing the only woman Eminem into the ground. A 4-year jump between Eminem's premium and all of this business, in fact. And now they even got a new woman Eminem, Purple Eminem. She's the quirky Eminem. Finally, we got all forms of women represented by M&Ms. Quirky, girl boss, and reformed seductress. Nailed it, all bases covered. I can't even think of another kind of woman, to be honest. I'm honestly surprised that they didn't just slowly give Miss Green the girl boss personality of Miss Brown and had the brown M&M just have different characteristics that weren't problematic. Like, seriously, here's a great pitch for a commercial for how they could have saved Green's character and responded to their complicated past of using her as a needless sex prop in their commercials. Have Miss Green be promoted to CCO through climbing the corporate ladder, girl bossing backstage. And her first act as CCO? Mandatory meeting with the advertising department. No more sexy commercials, you fucking weirdos. That's the commercial. I came up with it in 2 minutes. It's a brilliant solution, a corporate miracle idea that would have saved them so many headaches. Plus, this would have aired in 2012, before people were insane about wokeness. Controversy free. But instead, they had to complicate things by making a whole new character to just stand in front of Green until they came up with a new solution. But nonetheless, M&M's just kept on marching forward until their new redesign happened. And to answer my question I asked earlier, it took this many years. Oh, you forgot, didn't you? Earlier I asked, how long is Miss Green's only character feature going to be that she's sexy and everyone wants to have sex with her? The answer is 25 years. 1997 to 2022. 25 fucking years until we get to the redesign. Remember when I said using sex to sell a product that has nothing to do with sex long-term is a bad idea? It doesn't get much more long-term than a 25-year-old permanent advertising mascot. But they did it. They changed her design and character. What is Miss Green up to nowadays? Her personality isn't sexy anymore, so how has she changed? Well, she certainly does have new shoes. For an advertising identity that's centered around attitude and strong characters, she is so incredibly attitude-less, completely without a core identity or distinguishable traits. You know the M&M's characters. Red is the cranky loudmouth, yellow is dumb and clumsy, blue is snobby and cool, orange is high-strung and anxious, brown is the girl boss, purple is quirky, and green is a woman who is just kind of there. She has been demoted to just like the happy brand ambassador. M&M's has no idea how to deploy her. And it seems like they're in their flop era as far as commercials in general go. They tried doing woke commercials.
I'm sorry for mansplaining. That's when a man...
I know what it is.
But they abruptly stopped because they pissed off the chuds and they are trying to avoid a Target Bud Light-esque boycott from the right. They were dancing with the devil there for a second. And obviously they can't go back to the Dennis Miller days where they made edgy, anti-woke, insane, sexy commercials. So they are now just completely locked into the zone of family friendly, which they have made memorable commercials doing that, but it seems like they've completely lost their groove and they've forgotten how to make a decent commercial. Their most recent ad, a commercial about weighted blankets. We should recognize that they are not getting rid of these characters. These 3D fuckers are the reason why this candy product is gigantic. And they even made a series of commercials with Maya Rudolph spitting in the face of the very idea of getting rid of them. So they are stuck with the hand they were dealt, and in that hand is Miss Green. And to all the people saying, what's wrong with Miss Green being at the very least a little flirtatious in a family-friendly way? They could surely do that without being insane about it. I think you're right. They could have done that in theory, you know, just tone down the sexy and turn up the bratty diva. But I think that they are officially in too deep. You know, I get the rationale. They were trying to get as far away from those old commercials as possible because they were objectively insane. But also, could you imagine if they made her sexy again? Like even just a little sexy again. That would be so funny. People would go insane. God, I would love to see a world where that happened. Even if they wanted to, there's no going back. And listen, I want to see a future where Miss Green gets bestowed a non-problematic personality and can be a normal gal with an attitude that makes me want to go out and buy a pack of M&Ms, but I am thoroughly convinced that she is now cursed. Tucker Carlson has forever hexed this character as an inescapable meme, an icon for cursed commercials. With that Fox News controversy, nobody is ever going to forget about Miss Green's past. Her old design is the ghost that is forever haunting Mars Inc.'s corporate offices hallways. But none of that really matters. They can continue making bland commercials with these characters until the sun explodes. But they can never change the past. Miss Green's old commercials will forever remain in the annals of history, and it will always universally be considered the weirdest, most confusing, and most off-putting uses of sex in advertisements ever. In closing, history, consumerism, and dark desires influence the media and advertisers into manifesting acid-induced horrors into reality, and I just showed you my favorite example of this. But at the end of the day, even though she has caused all sorts of problems, it's not her fault. It's the Mars Company's fault. Even though her design has changed, I'm glad she's still around. Miss Green is my friend. Miss Green is your friend. Miss Green is the world's friend. She is not our enemy, because the enemy has been hiding in plain sight this whole time. The Eminem man, he's been behind this. All of the controversies, everything, this whole time, backstage, pulling the strings. How could I have been so blind? If you have the misfortune of encountering him, do not look at him in the eyes. Trust me, you just... Thank you for watching my dumbass video. If you made it this far, I would appreciate a like and follow, or else I'm gonna tell my mom on you and she's gonna cut your fucking head off. It is time for the Patreon shout out, but you might want to stick around until after because there's a pretty cool picture at the end of this video. More info on my Patreon at the end of the shout out. Okay, here are my supporters. Thank you very much. I want to kiss you. Thank you so very much to Zay, Pork Pudding, Thigh Pick Dealer, Adonis Christ, Ezra B, The Final Protege, Ginger Sassy, A Cloud of Moss, Go-Go Power Taser, MacDo226, Gabby, Rowan K, Lori C, Evan B, Spud, Thomas B, Zora, T Twisted, Twilight Galaxy, Irex, Springhald, Gary M, Ryan O, Pato Man, Suit Sprite, Heart of Hubris, Joseph F, Catherine D, Christopher J, and thank you to our newest members, God Diller and Hanson H. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Mom, they didn't subscribe. Chop their fucking heads off.